Hey guys, so today I just want to do a simple design using GenerateBlocks of a testimonial layout. Let's go ahead and get right to it. Okay, so as always, I am utilizing Figma to create my layouts, and what I did first was jump into Figma and create sort of a design that I think was pretty happy with and wanted to see if I could build out and replicate in GenerateBlocks. So keep in mind, I have not done this yet. I'm going to do this on the fly like I like to do in a lot of my tutorials. So it might have a few hiccups along the way, but let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so let's jump into our page here, and we'll just call this Testimonial. And we will first, in taking a look at this, we're going to add a container. And we'll go ahead and also add a inner container, because we want essentially this entire thing to be contained within our full page width. So this inner container, let's go ahead and first add our border all the way around. So I'm going to select the border sync. We'll do 1 pixel and border radius, let's say about 15 pixels. And of course, we're going to want to add some padding. So let's say 40 pixels of padding all the way around. All right. And so first what we can do is grab this copy. We'll add a block, do a headline block. And of course, what we actually need to do is add some more containers so that this is contained within the width. So first, let's add another container. And we'll add, let's say 2 more containers. So we'll do this with flex. And we will drag this one into the first container. So these 3, we actually want to be 33%. So we'll come down to the sizing panel, and width, we'll say 33%. Now we'll come to the container. We want to say flex layout, and we'll add a little bit of column gap to say about 20 pixels. So our H2 is looking pretty good. We can tweak the typography a little bit. We'll say bold. And then we need to add another headline with the name. So we'll just say Jane Doe, Creative Director. And this is going to be a paragraph. And we'll bring this down to about 16 point. And we'll just do a manual little bold there. So all I did was highlight the text and hit Command B, or you can click B up here for bold. All right, so we got our first column here pretty set. And now the next one we want to do is an image here. So this is a placeholder for an image. What we're going to do then is we can create a background image. We're going to insert it as a background image on the container. So we go to backgrounds. We're going to use this picture of a woman here. And now we can see I kind of jumped the gun by adding 40 pixels of padding all the way around to the main container, because that's going to restrict our image here in the middle from being able to span the full height. So I'm going to remove our padding for the time being. And probably control that on the individual container basis. So, all right, we've got our middle image here. What we need to do is come down to our background settings once again. We'll say cover, center, no repeat. All right, that works pretty good. And then we're going to insert sort of the actual testimonial here, right? So we're going to say headline, paragraph, paste that in. We gotta transfer this back to a paragraph. It's sort of a annoying feature that I think GenerateBlocks is actually working on. So, and then we're gonna select those 2 and just adjust our typography. So let's go about 14 pixels on that. And line height, let's say 1.4 EMs. Okay, so that's looking pretty decent. We just need to remove the bottom margin on the second headline here so that it doesn't cause any unnecessary space. Same with on this one, we'll say 0. So now everything's up to the edge, and we need to work on that. So our first container, let's go ahead, because we have our column gaps already, we don't really need right padding. So we're going to say top 40, bottom 40, and left 40. So now that looks a lot better. It's not, squished against the edge. So then we're going to do the same exact thing with the right one, but on this one we're going to need 40 top, 40 right, and 40 bottom. Now because the column gap on this is only 20, we could probably go ahead and put 20 on the left just so that it's more consistent with 40 all the way around on this paragraph text. Now this one, what we're going to do is make sure it's center aligned with the container itself. So we're going to actually say display flex, switch that back to column because we want them stacked, and we're going to say justify content in the center. So now it's perfectly in the middle. Okay, so the next thing we want to tackle is the quotes, right? So we come back, we've got this large quotes that's kind of overlapping the edge of the border of the container. So I think what I'm going to do is come to this outer container here, and we're going to go add a background. So we'll say backgrounds and select our quotes. We're going to put an image size, down here. Image size, we're going to put, let's say 100 pixels. And let's say top left, right? Because we want it in the top left corner. No repeat, attachment scroll. I think that the sizing is okay. Maybe let's do about 120 pixels, like a little bit bigger. And let's just save the draft real fast and take a look at it. All right, so of course our quotes are overlapping our headline, so you're not able to read the text there. But overall, I mean, it's looking pretty solid. Looks almost exactly like our Figma design. So let's go back to our icon, and if we position this within the position field, we can actually control it on a little bit further basis than just top left, bottom left, center, center. Okay, so behind the scenes, I just ran into a whole cluster of mess figuring this out. So I apologize for a little bit of jumpiness in this tutorial, but basically what I'm going to show you is what doesn't work and then how to fix it. So because my Figma design has overlap, right? This quote overlaps the edges. What I was initially trying to do here was insert this quote as a background image and then use negative position on top and X and Y to push it outside the box, outside those edges. But because I'm utilizing it as a background image, you just can't do that. There's no way around it. It's going to be clipped by the container. So that wasn't the solution. So this is a result of doing things on the fly and trying to figure them out. So again, thanks for your patience. So let's show you how to do it right. So let's go ahead and delete that background image out. And what we're going to do is within this container, right? So in the main container that holds all three, we need to add a image block with the quote. So I'm going to move this up to here. Oop, yeah. And I'm going to add the quote now. And on this quote, I'm going to say 120 pixels. That's what we were going with before. And I'm going to come on down, say minus 40 pixels, or no, that's too much. Minus 20 pixels on top, minus 20 pixels margin on left. So that's kind of where we want it to sit. And then the other thing we need to do, and we could do this two different ways, but if you have GenerateBlocks Pro, you can come to Effects, enable Opacity and Blend, add an effect, and pull the opacity down to say about 0.1, and we'll close that. So we just wanted to lighten it up. Of course, you can import your quote already opaque if needed, or you could write some CSS. So we'll save the draft and come to our page. So we see our quote is there. It's in the spot we want. But because we added an additional portion to our overall container, it's pushing everything to the right. So what we need to do is now come to this quote, give it a quick CSS class. We'll say quote image, img, say save draft, go into the customizer. Now jump into additional CSS. Now we'll say quote img, and we'll say position absolute. What that is going to do is ignore all the other content in that container around it and just position it exactly where we wanted it. So regardless of the text around it. So it pushed it up. Now all the text is in line and we want, and really this is exactly like our Figma design over here. So we're going to make a couple of tweaks. We'll publish this. Now we'll come back. I do want to make this picture of the woman to be black and white, just for this design. So if we come to effects and we come to filter, turn that on, add a filter, choose grayscale and say self, and we'll choose grayscale 100% because we want it to just be black and white. So say save draft, and now let's dive into the mobile version. So this looks terrible, right? All right, so we're going to choose our container that holds all of our content and choose column. And then what we need to do is choose our 3 containers here and come down to width and say 100%. And then the second container, because this is just a background image on that container, we need to just set a min height on that. So let's say 200 pixels on that. That looks pretty good. It's kind of around about what we're going for. And then on the bottom container that holds our testimonial, we're going to go ahead and make that left padding also 40 pixels. So again, it's consistent all the way around. We need to do the same with the first one and put a 40 pixels on the right. So that looks all right. And we'll go ahead and say save draft. Let's refresh this page in Customizer so we can see it. So on desktop, it looks great. And on mobile, that looks pretty good. So we see our quote is staying exactly where we want it. We've got our copy, and we've got our image is black and white now as we did. All right, so as you can tell, we kind of ran into a little hiccup there with the overlapping quote on the container, but we got it solved. And just wanted to know also, you can achieve that instead of doing negative 20 pixel top and left margin, where we wrote that CSS for the quote image class, you could also input top minus 20 pixels and left minus 20 pixels. That way it's more controlled by that position absolute. So a little bit better method there. Thanks for following along. Hope you enjoyed it and gained a little bit of design inspiration, and we'll see you next time.